Good morning. Welcome back to Concerned Citizens Media. Here are the news for today. Protests pro and against Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia are ongoing around the globe. Protesters supporting the policies of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed took place in Atlanta, London, Frankfurt, Germany, Washington, D.C., and other major cities. These pro-Abiy Ahmed protesters are supporting the crackdown his administration conducting against Oromo politicians, Oromo media, OMN, and they are advising or encouraging him to take more action against the Oromos challenging his policies. They are also demanding to do whatever it takes to keep Ethiopia from disintegration. They also condemned the incidents taking place in different cities and towns following the death of Hachalu Hundessa. They started the GoFundMe to help the victims of these incidents too. Protests against the Prime Minister of Ethiopia conducted by the diaspora Oromos came to Washington, D.C. from all over the United States and Canada. Other Oromos joined this global Oromo protest in St. Louis, Missouri, Los Angeles, California, Munich, Germany, and in other major countries. Their main demands are release all Oromo political prisoners, including Johar Mohammed, Baqqala Garba, Hamza Borana, Abdi Ragasa, and free all OMN journalists, and called for the reinstallation of OMN media, which is the voice of millions and millions of Oromos. The protesters also demanded the removal of the military and special security forces from Oromia region and an end to the mass arrests, detention, killing, and other extreme human rights violations that have been going on Oromos. They were also chanting, "Down, down Abiy, down, down Biltzigna or Prosperity Party. Abiy Ahmed is a dictator. Abiy Ahmed must go. Free Oromo people. We want justice. We want peace. We want Prosperity Party out of Oromia. Independent investigation for Hachalu Hundessa's killing," and also demanded their respective countries to stop supporting the Ethiopian government. They also expressed their anger and dissatisfaction with the VOA of Amharic program. They demanded VOA stop biased reporting about concerns of Oromos and Oromia in its Amharic program. The Ethiopian government is holding in its jail 3 Oromo Americans in Ethiopia. They were taken into custody while they were visiting Johar Mohammed in his office in Addis Ababa when the security forces arrived to arrest Johar Mohammed. One of the Oromo American is Redwan Aman of Washington, D.C. And the other is from Minnesota, but I don't have their names, but there are 3 Americans in Ethiopian custody. The American government was informed about this arrest by Washington, D.C. Oromo protesters. So the Oromo protesters demanded the release of all Oromo political prisoners plus those Oromo American citizens from Ethiopian jail. But the American uh, government is silent with overall Ethiopian conditions. Ethiopia Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed completed the 2 days unannounced visit in Eritrea and returned home. The Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was accompanied by his wife Zinash Tayacho, Tagas Chafo, Speaker of the Ethiopian House of Representatives, Ridwan Hussein, former Ethiopian ambassador in Eritrea, and other senior officials. This visit came after Isaias Afwerki visited Egypt for 3 days and returned to Eritrea. Political analysts suggested that this urgent visit by Abiy Ahmed is probably to hear directly from President Isaias Afwerki about Egypt's concern on Ethiopia hydro dam project water filling. There have been many frequent visits between the two leaders, and there is a fear that Eritrea is interfering about Ethiopia's domestic politics, and Abiy Ahmed may also be adopting the same political strategies, which are eliminating opposition political parties, no term limits on the presidency, no parliament in the country, and using military and special security to silence domestic challenges. Also, there may be a strategy planning to eliminate or neutralize TPLF's power from the border area and its challenges to Ethiopia's central government. Ethiopians must seriously follow Abiy Ahmed's repeated visits to Eritrea and vice versa, and get ready to do something about it before too late. The Ethiopian government released 3 family members of Mr. Baqqala Garba, one of the top officials of Oromo Federalist Congress and still in jail with Johar Mohammed and others. His son Samuel Baqqala, his daughter Bontu Baqqala, and another relative were freed from Ethiopian jail today. Samuel Baqqala gave first-hand witness of the arrests of his father Baqqala Garba, Johar Mohammed, Hamza Borana, and the arrests of himself and others following the death of Hachalu Hundessa. He said there was no confrontation with the security forces as the government claimed, and all the arrests of prominent political officials and himself was the political decision came from higher official, probably from Abiy Ahmed and his office. Samuel Baqqala confirmed that schools being used as prison in Ethiopia, and he also described the challenges prisoners are facing in the prison: food, clothing, consultation with the lawyers, and the family visits were harder for the prisoners to get. Many human rights violations are clear and common in the prisons. Moving prisoners from jail to jail is a common practice. Meanwhile, Dr. Brahane Mesqal Abbebe, with his VOA Amharic program interview yesterday, said that more than 100,000 Oromos have been jailed with ongoing crackdown by Abiy Ahmed and his security forces. This number never been identified, never been independently verified or confirmed by the Ethiopian government. The Ethiopian government only confirmed only 5,000 arrests in relation to the arrest going on after the days of Hachalu Hundessa. Amnesty International released a strong statement on the current situation in Ethiopia. We need to appreciate this organization really. They are seriously following the condition in Ethiopia. So they following it, they're releasing statement, and they doing their job. They are, I think, at this time they are the best in relation to other countries like Canada, United States, British, Australia. All of them choose to be silent on the face of the danger going on in Ethiopia, especially the dangers Oromos are facing. But we need to appreciate Amnesty International for its ongoing serious follow-up, on Ethiopia. So they release a very serious statement concerning the current situation with the political prisoners and everything going on over there. The Amnesty International statement called on the Ethiopian government to account for all people arrested after Hachalu Hundessa's killing. So some of the highlights of this Amnesty International press briefing: the authorities in Ethiopia must immediately reveal the whereabouts of dozens of politicians and journalists who were arrested alongside other people following widespread protest and violence on 29 June of 2020. The Ethiopian authorities are causing great anguish to the families of those arrested by failing to divulge their whereabouts. They must immediately disclose where each detainee is being held and either charge them with a recognizable crime or release them immediately. Pre-trial detention is only permissible when police have solid evidence to support accusation against those arrested. No one should be denied their rights to liberty while police go off on fishing expedition to justify arrests. These are serious accusations, and I don't think the Ethiopian government cares about it, but these are very serious demands by Amnesty International. Ethiopian authority must resist the urge to return to the familiar path of repression. They must respect the right to protect and express political dissent. They must also uphold due process and guarantee all detainees access to their families and lawyers and a fair trial that adheres to international human rights law and standards. Really, we freedom lovers, and those who are concerned about the Ethiopian citizens back home, we need to appreciate this amnesty strong statements on Ethiopia, to protect the rights of prisoners, the right for family visit. On my previous reporting, I stated that the Ethiopian government is moving prisoners from place to place and giving the family, extra challenges when they ask them where their family members are. They told them, we don't know, we don't have them here. So these are human rights violations, and Amnesty already recognized that, and they know what's going on in Ethiopia, I think they have, first-hand witness concerning the situations going on under the leadership of our Nobel laureate Abiy Ahmed. So they demanded this statement. These are very strong accusations, and some of them the protection for human rights for prisoners. They have a right for family visit, to for consultation with their lawyers. They have a right to get food, clothes. As Bekala Garba said, there is a problem right there too, and most of the detainees complain about, staying in dark room and cold room. These are tortures, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed claimed he will not torture uh, prisoners, but he's torturing them in a different way, and they should be accountable. And for more details of the Amnesty International briefing, you can go to their website, amnestyinternational.org. So you will find more details about their reporting. So these are the news I have, and for this statement, for Amnesty International statement, the responsible person for releasing this statement is Diprose Mukena, Amnesty International's director for East and Southern Africa. So this statement released from her office, and I really, on behalf of concerned citizens, media, and other Oromos, I appreciate Amnesty International continuous reporting on Ethiopia, and we encourage them to do so for future. So before I conclude today's presentation, I'm gonna let you enjoy the video of Tamaam Eritrea concerning the struggle of Oromos and what the Oromos have been facing. So listen to his speech, and then we'll conclude with it.
You didn't just come to be, you were planted. You bury the dead to get rid of the body, but you plant a seed so that it can go for transformation of coming back up greater than it was when it went down. Yaumataki, to the Oromo people, to the young men and women of our nation. First and foremost, I would like to extend my deepest condolences to every one of you who's devastated as I am by the assassination of our beloved Hachalu Hundessa, a man who has unquestionably touched the hearts and souls of the millions with his profound lyrical ability. For us, Hachalu wasn't just a musician. He was a musical revolutionist who embodied our hopes, our dreams, and most of all, our voices. As if the cold-blooded murder of our icon wasn't enough, the regime also had the audacity to imprison our leaders, including Jawar, a man who has ignited the everlasting movement among the young generation, a man who has spent all his life fighting for the causes of the oppressed. For generations, they have been dimming every light that has ever brightened amongst us, and so they dimmed a light that they couldn't handle its potential and power. But what they failed to realize is that our roots are too deep to be infected, our spirit too firm to be shaken, and our heart too strong to be broken. Never forget that. We, the Oromo nation, over 50 million of us, are one of the most oppressed groups in the world. We have been socially and economically marginalized and politically suppressed for over 150 years. Our parents and grandparents have been dehumanized. Their language and culture has been ridiculed. When they spoke against the injustices, they were imprisoned, tortured, and murdered, not just by the current regime, but by the one before that, and before that, and before that. But despite all the miseries we've endured as people, we have also been one of the most resilient groups in the world, who's never been deterred from pursuing equality and justice for all. Our parents fought on one side while raising their kids on the other, with the hope and prayer that maybe, just maybe, their children will one day be lucky enough to enjoy the freedom that they so desire but were never granted. Never forget that you are that child. You are the sole product of the prayers and hopes of your parents, grandparents, and your ancestors. It was Wako Gutu, one of the most respected Oromo heroes, who once said, Gabrumma hiddam bukifna, dadam ilman iti guddifanna. You are that Ilman is speaking of. The Keros and the Karres, the Kube generation, the most powerful, most educated, and most sophisticated generation of all time. A generation that has been raised in a keen politically and a socially aware atmosphere. A generation that is fearless, willing to sacrifice anything and everything to be free. A generation that is, without a doubt, most feared by the oppressive regime. So, none of us will rest until all our brothers and sisters are released from the prison. We will not rest until we eradicate anything and everything that embodies the outdated and barbaric mentality that has crippled that country for so long. The young generation will not rest until what Haj Alud assassinated for is fulfilled. All the statues of the past dictators and oppressors are removed from the public spaces, particularly the embarrassing and demeaning Menelik statue that towers over the capital. We will not rest until every soul in that country is free. Because remember, we're not just fighting for the Oromos. We're fighting for the millions of other marginalized groups, the likes of the Sidamas and the Walaitas and the Sirtes. We're fighting for the justice for humanity. We're fighting for every oppressed soul that lives on that soil. So, my people, be sad, but never be broken. Cry, but never let your tears be seen by your oppressors. Let us continue to mobilize, organize like never before. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. Remind the regime that this is not the era for dictators to rule. And remember, this is not like any of our past movements. This is our last straw. Oromo, this is it. Our last chance to be free.
Okay, thank you, Tamam, for that inspirational speech. In that speech, he mentioned so many things. The struggle has a long history. Oromos have been victimized for a long time. Again, they are at the challenging time. If if Oromos let it happen. But as I have seen so many demonstrations in America, Australia, Canada, and many European countries, Middle East, uh, Oromos are not let happen at this time. The Kube generation, as he said, they will not let it happen. They will fight it. They will demand freedom. They will demand justice, and they will not be surrender to force, military force, special security force. Uh, I don't think Abiy Ahmed will be successful in the current direction. I think it's better for him to switch back to the previous promises and do the promises, uh, that he got the Nobel Prize for. So for now, Oromos are back home, especially under the constant, they are living under constant presence of military on each door, and we don't have the media. OMN is shut down, and so nobody is reporting what the Ethiopian government force is doing on Oromos on their own lands. So we have so many other news outlets, government outlets, and some other claim to be private, but they don't report anything going on, the Oromo suffering, until we create another media or until we established OMN in Oromia. We're gonna have shortage of credible news what the Oromos are going through, and still the internet is shut down, but the forces, what's going on now is temporary. Once the internet is open, once the people start coming out, the military cannot control the Oromos by force. For now, it looks like they are trying to keep them indoors, but once the door is open, I don't know what's gonna happen unless they go back to the promise they made and free, fair election. COVID-19 is a good excuse to give them extended time on power, and I think we need to demand the election. America has so many COVID-19 cases. They don't have a cure for COVID-19, but they're gonna do election in November. They will not postpone. So Ethiopia shouldn't be given, unlimited delay for election. So as citizens, we have to demand free and fair election, and the people should have a chance to vote their own leadership. That leadership, will not torture them, will not arrest them, will not burn their property, will not create conflict between Amara, Oromo, Gurage, blah, blah, will not be, if it's elected by people, that will not happen. So the other thing I want to add on today is the conflict we see between Amhara and Oromo protesters, those supporting the Ethiopian government, those opposing the Ethiopian government, and that these two groups, I think, will not help us to build one strong nation, one strong country. As I said before, we have to have a strategy to come together, talk our grievances, and find a common ground, those living in diaspora, okay? If we are going separate ways, we will not create, uh, a better country for all its citizens. And Ethiopians are mixed ethnic, different culture, different language. So if we want to create a country that can hold all these differences, Ethiopians must come together, especially the two major ethnic groups, Amaras and Oromos, instead of being enemy of each other, and instead of targeting each other on the developed world, like we have seen sometimes on demonstrations, and the last time, in a bar. So, we have to have tolerance and a good heart for each other instead of being enemy to each other. And if you want to create a country friendly for all its ethnicities, we need to have dialogue. We need to have. We need to look for common ground. If not, I think I'm afraid Ethiopia will not be handled by force. Ethiopia will be disintegrated into different parts. Uh, you know, I don't wish that, but it looks like that if we are going separate ways, if we are not creating common ground for that country, if we are not coming together, having a dialogue, a discussion, what is the issue? We are all came from the same country, and we have family back home, and you know, we need to. The diaspora must have like common ground. Like last time, Oromos and Amaras, they were in a good mood and on a good track. The Oromos went to Gojam and saying that Tana is ours. Tana and Kenya, which is good. So we need to find a way to create that kind of feeling. Then it will be easy to make Ethiopia a peaceful country, a strong country for all its citizens. Okay, that much is enough for today, and until next time, I'm gonna say so long from Concerned Citizens Media.